aka Patters. Welcome to Audio Audacity. That's my podcast. We're here. We're still in the 31 Days of Dread. We're still in October, and we're doing another tangent. Coming up next, I moved some things around. I did some producer maneuvering. We'll be doing Squid Game. Okay, so that is the very next episode. But I thought I would take the opportunity and earn a little bit of the audio audacity, because what I'm about to say, I'm sure a lot of people are going to think that I'm being audacious, that I have audacity, and they're going to question my audacity. Well, here we go. We're talking Scream Queen. This is a documentary produced starring Mark Patton. If you care about Mark Patton, 2019 documentary about a movie that came out in 1980. The movie that this documentary is about came out in 1985, and in 2019 we get Mark Patton. He's the guy that starred in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. And yeah, like there was some enlightenment in the first 20 something minutes of this documentary. The whole point of this documentary is no more to guilt trip people, emotionally blackmail people, to do this forced reunion. And Mark Patton's objective, outside of telling us that this is a homoerotic movie, Freddy 2, which it's not, because I addressed this a couple episodes ago. But he really wants you to believe it. There's very little evidence. We have the screenwriter, we have the director, but he wants these people to fess up. And he is claiming that, I guess in some way, he was emotionally tortured, emotionally inflicted, to the point that he couldn't carry on with his film career. Now, these topics, the topics that this movie touches, a lot of it's 100% true. When it comes to marketing yourself, having an agent, giving the agent some level of control over your career. And if the agent says, hey, they're hiring redheads, you have to dye your hair, you're dyeing your hair if you want to be a film actor. So there's some things when it comes to, I would say, even religious belief. I would say even how you identified yourself sexually. These things are there and they're not there. Now, they're not there as a audience goer, because you're watching a freaking movie and you don't care about this outside stuff. You just want to sit down, do a brain dump, and get entertained. But Mark Patton, he uses this documentary, he builds the argument up. And, we do get some tidbits from, I think is The Advocate, and maybe one or two other, one of them might have been Village Voice. But somewhat comments or articles along the way that identified this Freddy 2 as a homoerotic movie when it came out. And to me, that's very important. That is the most important artifact you can have to build your argument, because if it's not there from the beginning, then it can't be there later, because you're inflicting something, you're projecting something that's not there. Now, artwork and all these other things, like any piece of art, changes through time, and that's fine too. But we saw something very similar where there was a generation that came up believing Top Gun was the same thing. And that went away when enough people rewatched the movie, and that opinion just washes over. It becomes a party anecdote, as it was pitched in, by Quentin Tarantino. I believe the movie was Sleep With Me. Feel free to fact check me on that. And this I believe should be the same. It should just be a footnote, an idea, fan fiction, a little bit of a side tangent to another meaning of Freddy 2 Nightmare on Elm Street, but this documentary, I believe, makes that argument very poorly. And they keep going to this S&M club, which I address. I mean, look, I addressed it a couple episodes ago, where if the filmmaking, if the power of the filmmaking was better, that scene could have come off like 100%. Like, that scene could have been sellable. But we're dealing with a very quick production. We're dealing with, hey, like, let's just sit down and make a freaking movie. We have to make a movie because we're a film company and we have to hire people. So that's a lot of the positioning when it comes to the creatives, in back of the, behind the camera. But when you're in front of the camera, did Mark Patton push a couple like angles in his acting, like a couple positions to go one way or the other? I don't believe so. I believe Mark Patton was an atypical leading role for a horror movie. The Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was very atypical. It went against the grain. They were successful because of it. They wanted to repeat that formula or experiment with that formula. Leading man, it's a possession movie, as stated in this documentary. I was so happy to hear that. I think our writer, right, who wrote this, now rated by, I can't even see who, because I'm on the wrong freaking movie, that's why. Written by David Chaskin. So David Chaskin doesn't participate in the reunion. He participates in the documentary and kind of teases and doesn't say explicitly the intent of the screenplay. Some people will say it was there from the beginning. Maybe. So here's the thing. If it's there in the beginning, the movie was zero. There was zero impact. If there was any like homoerotic undertones in this movie, it was a zero impact movie. People wanted Freddy. They wanted Freddy enough for a third movie. So you can't, it's really hard to say, and when people rediscover movies, they can put whatever they want on it, which is perfectly fine. But I just don't feel like there's enough meat on the bone to forward this argument. We don't get good quotes. We don't get good snippets from some of these early Village Voice articles and reviews or what The Advocate said. I think, seeing some of that, having some of those people who were involved with those magazines comment on what was in the air when this movie came out, approaching the hard ideas and overcoming the hard concepts. Meaning, this movie was not, Philadelphia was impactful, not this movie. And, you have to make that comparison and you have to kind of connect those dots. Just when it comes on a historical, movie sense, meaning historically as a movie, where does this line up? What does it actually mean? What we get, though, we do get a lot of emotional blackmail. We get these concepts and it goes into these directions, really about the culture around some of it, but not, and we don't need that. We need to, we need evidence. We need proof. We need more conversation. We don't need designed history lessons to kind of go square peg round hole. And that's really how I feel about this documentary. Now, I would say, just on a filmmaking sense, it's well made. But I think any documentary that keeps towing the line or keeps moving the chains is well made. Okay, so there you go. Now, are there things designed within the documentary to validate the points? Yes. Does that happen? No. Because here we go. Jack Shoulder, he's our director. This guy, he made Alone in the Dark, good movie. The Hidden, good movie. Wishmaster 2, Evil Neville Dies, good freaking movie. Direct to video, but whatever. I enjoyed that flick. I think I originally first saw it on like Cinemax or some crap. But here's the thing. When you have your director explicitly say, I didn't see any of this in the movie. I made the movie and I got none of it. Because you're making the movie that's low budget with a zero timestamp. Like, you have to make this movie now. Limited sets, limited time. Okay? And a lot of these people are young, so they're green in front of the camera. And if you're sitting down at this reunion and you say that, you have completely removed the point of your very own movie in your own documentary. And now it becomes pointless. And then Jack sits down with Mark and says, why are you chasing your own tail? You have to move on with your life. I mean, very ballsy for them to leave that in there. That I think that was that was a ballsy move, but it also removes the validation. It does subtract. It completely subtracts from the point of Scream Queen making the case that Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, is a homoerotic movie, and its star is Jesse, is somehow having a erotic relationship with Freddy Krueger. No, Freddy Krueger pushes the boundaries. He needs to push the boundaries. He's the villain. It will kind of get a little bit blurry. You will be on that fence. Things will be gray. And the nature of the decisions and how those decisions end up on film, that's it. Now, responsibly, you kind of have to say that this movie was hijacked. It was retro. It was it was recannoned for these reasons. This community of people hooked onto it. That's all fine. You can document that. You can document the new connection people had with Freddy 2. You can document the new commentary on Freddy 2. But you have to go to the source and say, look, the movie was intended for this, but this is now where it's arrived. Isn't that interesting? And I would be all for that. I would be also for, I will say it again for the third time before we get out of here, historical documentation on the early reviews that read this as a homoerotic movie. Where are they, and what exactly are they saying? This documentary should have highlighted that explicitly. AKAPAD here, signing out. Let's do some Netflix Squid Games. The final 3 days of the 31 Days of Dread are coming.